Hey, St. Croix. For today's chapel, we'll consider Jesus' illustration using vines and branches. And I've got just the spot for us to consider this topic. Let's go.
So here we are. To help me illustrate the point for our chapel today, I've come to my friend Dave Mielke's house.
Luke, I'm your father. Seriously, Luke, I don't think these are the masks that they were talking about. I think we're good without these masks.
You sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Besides, I think we're pretty good distance away anyway. Let's check. Yep, 3 feet by 2 people, 6 feet, we're good.
All right. Well, I'm not entirely sure about Mielke's math there, but all joking aside, we do want to take a look at Jesus' words recorded for us in the book of John. We're going to read together John chapter 15, verses 1 through 5. I am the vine, and my Father is the gardener.
He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful.
You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you.
Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine.
Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me.
I am the vine.
You are the branches.
If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit.
Apart from me, he can do nothing. So Jesus would use common everyday illustrations that his listeners would be familiar with. So let's take a look at what Jesus was speaking about relative to a tree.
So right now we're standing by one of my crab apples in my yard, and if you look really closely, you can see that there's a whole bunch of fruit growing off every single branch. And I said branch. It's not growing off of the vine or the trunk or the roots. The trunk and the roots are what give it its nutrients, so that then every single branch then can flourish and produce fruit.
So let's take what Mr. Mielke just told us about how a tree works and apply that to the spiritual lesson that Jesus is trying to teach us. Just like a trunk brings nutrients to the branches, so you and I need nutrients brought to us to strengthen our faith. And how are those nutrients delivered? Through God's Word. When we hear God's Word, when we read it, when we study it ourselves, whether it's in class, in chapel, or in our own personal Bible reading, God through His Word works to strengthen and grow our faith to the point that we too can produce fruit.
So our reading today referenced pruning. Pruning is taking branches off of the tree that are detrimental to the health of it. So if you're looking at this one right here, I'm sure you can't see, but this branch is touching this branch. And even though it's growing fruit, I need to get rid of it, because if you leave it go, the branch is touching can actually wear out the bark, and then that allows for insects or bacteria or something to get into the branch. Then it can travel through, get into the vine and the roots, and then kill it. So today I'm going to prune it, and just lucky for me, I have a pruners in my back pocket. Yes, and we're going to take care of business today. So I'm going to cut this one off, and you notice that yes, it has fruit on it, but I needed to get rid of it for the health of it in the future.
So let's take what Mr. Mielke was just talking about regarding pruning a tree and apply it to our spiritual lives. When Jesus speaks about pruning, he reminds us that God, the gardener, knows what's best for us and our spiritual life. And so he controls circumstances so that things which are detrimental to our faith life are removed. God uses pruning, God uses circumstances to shape and to mold us in such a way to benefit us spiritually for our eternal well-being.
And now we're at another part of my garden where we have a clematis. or known by its binomial nomenclature class, is called Clematis occidentalis. Shout out to Mr. Gibson's Latin class. But anyway, what's going to happen, this clematis is going to grow and grow, and it's just going to keep growing, and it's going to produce so many flowers that you would think that's pretty cool and that's awesome, and it is. However, it needs support. So if you look at this trellis right here, this black thing, and I have two of them because I have two clematis and they get so big, I need support. Eventually, throughout the whole summer, this whole trellis will be full and you won't even see it anymore because the clematis will take over, but it's going to be supported, and the only reason we can see the beauty of those flowers is because of that support of the trellis.
And so let's make the spiritual application relative to the vine. This is the reason why I came to Mr. Mielke's to begin with. Just like Mr. Mielke described how the trellis is important for this vine to grow to its fullest potential, I want to remind each one of us the importance of friendship. It's been especially challenging in this time perhaps to stay connected, but Jesus' comparison of himself to a vine and us to branches is one that encourages us to stay connected to each other as well. Think about it. Just like a trunk brings nutrition to the branches, so too our friends can bring us spiritual encouragement. Just like Jesus referenced pruning a tree and how that's good for a tree, sometimes we need friends, those closest to us, whom we trust to be honest with us, to help us identify the things that are detrimental in our lives so that they can be removed as well. And lastly, just like we talked about a trellis being vital to the health and well-being of the vine, so too our friends provide support, encouragement, and are there for us to help us reach our fullest spiritual potential as well. So may God bless us in this time and always as we continue to turn to Jesus and his words, not only in the book of John, but throughout the Bible. And then may we too rely on each other and the friends that God's placed around us, either here close personally or perhaps even remotely. God bless and keep you.